Wow. You know, there was almost a throwaway line in those words of Aaliyah Kemmler. Did you hear it? She said, "The church I serve was accused of promoting a pro-gay, pro-immigrant agenda, which I was proud to confirm." She said she was proud to confirm her congregation's identity, at least as she saw it. We should all feel that way, right? Proud to confirm our identity. It's a complex thing for us, identity, and even more so for a community. You know, who I am is hard enough. Who are we is exponentially more challenging. As individuals, if we're paying any attention to the question of who we are, as we struggle to reconcile often competing values and motivations, we can make choices about what parts of our identity that we want to project, affirm, live into, and in so doing, we choose what to integrate into who we are and what not to. And sure, a community can do this too, but it's understandably more complicated. There are so many more voices, so many more inputs, so many more influences on articulating an identity, all that everyone in the community can embrace. An identity that influences whether or not someone wants to be part of that community. An identity that defines for the community who to include and who not to. An identity that determines for newcomers whether or not that community is for them. And to complicate it even more, so often all of this happens unconsciously. A community's identity is often defined by its mission statement. Do you know what that is for FUS? Who's got it memorized? Oh, I see a hand. Wow. Here it is on the screen. I hope there it is. As a congregational humanist community, we at the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis foster a free search for knowledge and meaning, strive for justice, and serve one another, the Twin Cities and beyond. That's your mission. And in a very real way, the mission of FUS determines who wants to be included here and who actually is included here. Although admittedly, that requires this community to both be aware of and engage in living its mission statement. The clearer you are about who you are, the more apparent it is who belongs and who does not. What you claim as your mission in the world, your raison d'etre, really matters. I don't know if any of that language is painful for you, to think of who does belong here, to ask how welcoming you are, really, or how welcoming you want to be. You know, some of my work as an interim minister here is to mirror back to you, and it's interesting to me to note that there's no mention of welcome or inclusion in your mission statement. So I just want to poke around at this a little. It will come as no surprise to those of you who are getting to know me that my worldview is both influenced and challenged by the many podcasts I listen to. My message today is greatly shaped by a recent episode on the New York Times Opinions podcast, which in this case was a conversation between editor Aaron Redica and columnist Carlos Lozada, talking about immigration and Trump's attack on birthright citizenship. And in that listening, it occurred to me that the great narrative playing out on our national stage about who is welcome or included within the American project resonates, or can resonate, with our own questions of identity. So in exploring what's happening at the national level, we as individuals and as a congregation may find some important lessons and understandings and questions about who we intend to be included in our circles of community. For example, how does one gain birthright belonging here at FUS? While right now, obviously, there is contention about what birthright citizenship means, Traditionally, it has meant that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are full citizens, all. There's no distinction between citizens who can trace lineage back to the Mayflower and those whose parents just arrived, theoretically. And at FUS, I've noticed that it's a common practice here that you identify yourselves based on how long you've been a member. That's curious, isn't it? Does long-time association or maybe presumed investment in or financial contribution to make one a different class of member? Better? More legitimate? Just questioning. Here's another example. Trump has been talking about those who poison the blood of America. Lozada and Redica spoke of this as a progression in his rhetoric. In 2016, he spoke about building a wall, which implied a need to protect, to keep people out, But now he's talking about those on the inside who are poisoning the country's blood, and executing deportations are somehow meant to purify that blood. This all chips away at what is a common understanding of what it means to be American and an attempt, perhaps successfully, to shatter any sense of belonging for a whole lot of people who have already invested a lot, who've put themselves in danger to be part of this country. And how might we look at this congregation through that lens? How do we respond when someone new enters, who maybe speaks a different language, be that one that's conservative politically, or one that includes religious words that your former minister Kendall Gibbons spoke of as a language of reverence? Is that threatening? Does it poison the blood of this congregation? Do you need to protect yourselves from them or force them out in order to keep a pure identity? Whatever that might mean for you. I'm just wondering. The big question here is how your identity as the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis influences and impacts one's experience of belonging or being included here. This is a question that does not need to be value or judgment laden. I don't mean it to be at all, because you get to decide who you are and who you want to be in the world. But know that that decision will necessarily play a huge role in which individuals will be welcomed into your culture and community and which will not. What's critical is to be aware of what you're doing and the choices you're making, and to consider the impact. And when I say choices, I mean all the choices. All the little moments matter. Little responses, little reactions, ways that you treat one another just in the moment. It's also important to continue to become more aware so that you understand what might be unconscious motivations and reactions on your part. When a foreign element, an immigrant, enters the system, can you be clear about whether or not they might be invited to make FUS their home? Do you react to newcomers out of a need to protect what you have here, or even with worries about being corrupted by viewpoints or beliefs unlike your own? Or are you open to and even welcoming of different worldviews that might change you? I hope you are. I know many of you are. The United States has had, for a long time, to varying degrees, an image, an identity that says, all are welcome. Come, live the American dream. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. The golden door of welcome. The welcome stones placed at the borders of towns and cities. The all are welcome here banners flying at so many congregations. Of course, many of you have felt completely welcomed and at home here. And many of you, I hope today, are feeling completely welcome and at home here. But that said, I have noticed, was present in the people of Kemmlerstown, something of an undercurrent of doubt or suspicion as to whether or not newcomers will fit among you. So how do you value inclusion? Or is it a particular identity? Or is a particular identity a higher value than inclusion? Are these compatible values? Inclusion, identity, or are they mutually exclusive? Our theme for the month of February is the practice of inclusion, and we're going to be talking more about this, especially in these times when gathering in solidarity with others to join in the struggle against oligarchies and fascism, building community, inclusion, it's so critical. I'd love for us all to be the people that go and help rescue the goats and the donkeys and the sheep and get them home again. So when I'm back in the pulpit in 2 weeks, I want to go deeper into the questions I'm asking today. And just so you know, our foraging for our future conversation on March 2nd will be about identity and therefore about inclusion. So for today, I leave you to consider that relationship between identity and inclusion, and to wonder about how it is that FUS's identity can simultaneously be a beacon for some and a barrier for others. And given that, I hope you'll think about how you can be inclusive and welcoming while also being clear about who this community is and isn't. It's a wonderful place. But there's this conundrum of identity and inclusion that at worst repels newcomers and at best lives into what it means to be a diverse, beloved community, a community with a clear and well-examined identity. It's a balancing act, truly it is. And in the balance, would that it were that you are proud to confirm this community's identity and every day be willing to live into its promise. So be it.